Hello and welcome. This week I am working on a series of prints, some of which I printed before lockdown, some of which I printed really recently, and I'm adding with my usual array of hand printing techniques in the home studio. If you like the video, then do click like, subscribe to the channel, and you can see lots more artwork, and you can buy self-paced video courses at ruthander.co.uk. Print series that I'm starting on today. This one was printed quite recently, and this is carborundum here. So that's a kind of powder that you put on your plate. It makes a really velvety black. The ink really sticks to it. And then this here is, it's actually tissue paper stuck to board, so it's kind of like a collograph, I suppose. And it prints really lovely. It kind of looks a bit like water and waves and things. So this one was printed on Japanese paper, and again, quite recently. Really love the texture of that Japanese paper, so I'm not quite sure what to do with that one. And again, this one here just kind of came out really beautifully as is. So I'll have a think about what I want to do on those ones. It may be that I don't touch them this time. And then these two were probably printed before lockdown, I think, or around about, maybe by hand actually during lockdown. And I worked on them a little bit, added a bit of collage, but I want to make them a little bit better now. So I'll probably be working on those ones today. So I am going to start off with a very dark grey, and I'm going to, first thing I'm going to do is just put it here in the middle, because what I'm going to do is press onto the back of my paper to create, so basically to get it onto the paper and create a bit of darkness in the clouds. So I'm just going to roll this out. Normally I roll this out quite thinly when I'm doing this type of thing, but because I'm going to be pressing onto etching paper, which is quite thick, I'm going to need a fair amount of paint here. And this is oil paint. I use oil paint most of the time. Sorry about my squeaky roller. I think I'm going to put a little bit more ink on there actually. So when I do tissue paper, when I'm doing monoprint on tissue paper, the thing about tissue paper is it will stick to absolutely everything. It will pick up any tiny bit of ink or paint that you put on. So I tend to not put much ink on when I'm doing this type of work, really thin layers of it. But when I'm actually printing onto a piece of etching paper, which essentially this is, it's already been printed on. It's very thick paper, so I need quite a lot of ink on there. And one thing I'm just going to do is cover up, let's just find a piece of tissue, scrap tissue. I'm just going to cover up there where I made a mistake, just for the moment, rather than clean it up, just so it doesn't get on my paper. So I'm just going to place it on. And I am going to use my trusty knife handle, and I'm going to get quite loose and free with this and just press on. Now if I'm pressing down with the side of it, should get a thicker line. If I press down with the end or the side, I'll get a thinner line, and thinner again with the tip of the knife, but I'm not going to use that end. I want nice thick velvety lines if possible. And I'm just going to sort of echo really the shape that is already there from the carborundum. But remember, this was a ghost print, so it's not that dark. There we go, that's darkened it up a lot already. So I'm going to do a bit more on that. So this should give it a lot of energy and movement and just kind of liven the whole thing up. And I think I'm also going to just use fingers as well, just to get some bit more colour on it. Let's have a look and see what that does. Yeah. So that's what my cloud is looking like now. I'm also just going to use a piece of mount card here as well, just to kind of really push down and get a little bit more colour on here, so it's not so line based. Let's have a look at that. Okay. So this has got a really nice negative of the the cloud and the line work here now. So I'm actually just going to take a ghost print from that. This is where you take whatever is left on your plate or surface onto a piece of paper. So I've got you can probably already see that I've got a negative of what I've just done there. I was actually going to do this straight onto another print, but I don't think it's going to come out, so I'm using tissue instead, and that will definitely make marks, and I can use that for collage or to put into another piece now. So that's actually come out really nicely. So there's now a white cloud on a grey background. I've got this very little amount of paint left on here. I think I'm actually going to use it to do a very faint line of land along this horizon line here. So I don't want this to be as strong or as velvety as the line I've just done. I just want a very gentle line. I think I'm going to use the thin end of my knife here, the actual tip of the knife, to see if I can do this. So some of this may not come out, and that's kind of what I want. I just want a really, almost like it's being, the land's just been taken over by the weather. Let's see if that works. Okay, yeah. So I don't know if you can see that, but that is the horizon. That is the line of land I've just drawn. It almost looks like a pencil line, actually, because there's so little paint left on there now. Okay, so I'm going to do a very similar thing here, but I've actually got some almost unmixed Prussian blue here, which I really love just as it is. So I'm going to do some line work with this in the sea area of these pictures, the water area at the bottom. I'm just rolling it out. I need a bit more there. Oh, squeaky, right. This is actually a really nice roller, sort of Japanese rubber roller, but probably needs, maybe it needs some oil or something. Right. Okay, again, relatively thin, and I'm going to go for this one again, and I'm going to put some line work, some bright blue line work in the bottom here. So Prussian blue is a bit funny, is that when you roll it out, or you just put it on your plate, it looks very dark and you can hardly see any colour. When you put it on printing paper or any paper, it becomes very vibrant and bright. So how am I going to do this? Let's have a go here. I'm going to get this side actually. Moving things out of the way. Right, okay, I'm going to start this side. Okay, so what's happened there is I've pressed down on a bit that didn't have that much ink on it, so the top area hasn't come out, but I'm going to do that again. I like those lines, they're really nice. So I'm going to add a bit more ink, just up at the top there, to make this whole area a bit bigger. All right, let's try that again, because these are lovely velvety lines that are coming out. Okay. And there we go. And that's just added another element of darkness, another element of line to the piece, and a bit of movement as well. Okay, and I'm actually going to do the same with this one, I think. We've already got some dark here. I think that is probably Prussian blue. That's collaged on. I'm going to add some more line. Okay. Just... yeah, okay. Okay, so that's interesting. So it hasn't picked up on some of the... so it's picked up on the collage areas, actually, but not so much on where I've got some thick ink here. I actually quite like that. It kind of echoes and flows. I'm going to try and do one more and see if that adds anything. press a little bit harder over that thick ink. Okay, so that's quite nice. So we've got this really thick velvety line there now. This is just ebbing and flowing out of the composition.